go ahead and get started.
Before we begin, I want to let the class know that we're acting like we're from the company CBRE. It's a global leader of commercial real estate services and investments, and we're acting like we are their HR team, going over different hybrid styles to implement for different companies.
All right, so we all know 2020 was a big year for a lot of reasons. I probably don't need to elaborate on that. But one of the things that's really important to us was how at the start of the pandemic, many businesses and almost all office spaces transitioned to virtual essentially overnight. The reason for this was mostly to protect employee health and safety. But people did also do the transition simply because they felt like they had to. They're kind of like bandwagoning. And so this results in a lot of debate and strong opinions around virtual versus in-person working. People have really strong opinions about which they prefer. Managers and executives have even stronger opinions typically. But if you take this as an opportunity to look at the lessons, we were essentially forced into working remote, and we can either go back to our old ways or use these lessons and move forward. And so any intelligent, efficient managers such as yourselves should see the benefit in taking aspects of both the virtual and the in-person model in a hybrid form to further benefit your business. So today we're going to go over, because the subjectiveness around the debate, we're going to talk about our big ideas on the pros and cons of in-person and virtual. We're going to go over our hybrid model solution, and then we're going to talk about implementation with some real-world examples and basically just how it's going to benefit you and your business. So when it comes to working in the office, one of the biggest things people talk about is communication. So when you have everyone in a centrally located area, it's really easy to get the answers you need. If you have a quick question, you can go to your coworker and immediately get the answer. Same with bosses, managers. You have a lot on your plate, so it's really easy to go up to people and immediately get the answer that you need. Same idea with having everyone centralized. It's easy to see who's where, what they're doing. A lot of managers like to walk around their office and see how people are working. And so this is a good option where you have it physically in front of you where everyone is. You don't have to think about who has a sick day, who's coming in late. Also connectiveness. A lot of people really care about the social aspect of being at work. For some people, that's like a deal breaker when they're applying to jobs. So that physical connectiveness it can be a big deal for certain people. And then collaboration. When you're working in teams, it's really easy when you're in person to just get everyone in a group, hammer out your projects, and if you need input, you can go get someone else if you need to. Really easy to do when you're just all together. The issues with working in the office is that you're gonna have a lot of wasted time. And this can be, you might have employees taking frequent breaks. You can also have people, like I was saying about monitoring employees, you could have someone working on their computer, but they're just online shopping, scrolling through social media the whole time. Also, according to a survey, 91% of employees admitted to zoning out during work meetings, which I think 91% is probably conservative, but that's still a ton of wasted time. As managers in real estate, obviously leasing costs should be a huge factor for all of you, and by the nature of having everyone in one spot, you're going to need a larger office. Not just that, but you're going to need more parking, break rooms, bathrooms, things like that. It's all going to jack up the overhead. Finally, commuting time and expenses. So you might not think that that's going to be a huge factor for how you're going to choose your model, but if you think about it, like you might have an employee driving in an hour to work, they're sitting through traffic, they show up, they're already burnt out, they're not going to be as productive, so they're not going to be adding value to your business. Likewise, if someone, maybe at the end of the day, you have something that you forgot to do, you email someone who's already at home, you're like, hey, can you get this done? And they're going to read it after sitting an hour in traffic again, and they're going to say, hell no, I'm going to do that tomorrow. So when it comes to remote working, you're going to have, again, biggest factor for remote working is going to be the customization. So you have the flexibility, especially with scheduling, to make it just exactly how you want or how it best suits you and your employees, as well as things like who's working on what, how long are they working on that, the teams. That's all pretty easily adjustable, we believe, when you're working remotely. You're also going to, things like that, commuting, office, leasing, all that, you don't have to worry about that because you no longer have people in the office, so you're cutting a lot of costs like that. It's pretty obvious that people, when they're uncomfortable, they're not going to work as well, they're not going to be as productive, so they're not adding value. And by letting people work from home and they can set their environment up how they want it, they're going to be the best employee that you have, or the best employee that they can be. And finally, personalization. We kind of look at this like education. You have visual learners, you have people that like to read the book. Same kind of deal. It's important to give people the best options for them to do their best work. And so our main issues with working remotely, you're going to have people in different spots, obviously disconnection. You could have some communication issues. Equity in the workplace, we look at this in two ways. Number one is going to be kind of like amount of work. When people are virtual, it can be difficult for managers to see who's putting effort in, who's slacking off, who's just kind of checking the boxes, that kind of deal. And then also equity with opportunities. So if you have a group of people that are all in person, they might be getting better opportunities for advancement in the company, benefits, all that kind of stuff, where a group who is working remotely could be challenged to not have those same benefits. And then finally, implementation, right? You're obviously taking a risk by doing this, and I get it, change is scary, but by utilizing the best aspects of both of these ideas, you can end up with a hybrid model that really suits your business. Next up, Marisa is going to be covering our implementation with some real-world examples and how to make it best work for you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of conflicting feelings when it comes to if you want to be virtual or in person, and a great solution for a company to implement is a hybrid style. A hybrid style is when your employees come in a certain amount of the week in the office and the other amount is virtual, whether that's at their home, if they're on vacation, they're just not in the office. 78% of US companies already implement a hybrid style, but sometimes it's not as efficient as it needs to be. A hybrid example that CBRE took over was there was a company in the Netherlands. It was a technology firm who was struggling after COVID. As every other company did, they went virtual when the pandemic started, and then they went back in office, and that caused some issues with if employees were working efficiently or not. And so CBRE was asked to come in and help this company create a good hybrid style that was fitting for this company alone. So what they needed to examine was their workforce, their management styles, and employee working styles. What CBRE HR team found when examining this company was that the workforce was very young. It was 81% of the company was Generation Z, and that's from birth now to 25-year-olds. And as we know, those 25-year-olds have probably been working most of their career virtual, so being transferred back to in-person, they kind of get lost and don't know what to do. Also, they examined that this company had a lot of individual work and not as much collaboration, and if it was collaboration, then it was all worked over through email, and as we know, email is not the most efficient way of working as a group. And so the result of this, CBRE HR team decided to split this company virtual 50% of the time and in person the other 50% of the time. And overall, the company's culture improved, and there was greater team productivity. And then 21% of the company's real estate footprint was reduced. This means the operating costs and overall property cost was reduced. And that could be rent, utilities, and then also it can help the environment just by not having your employees commute as much, or you aren't using as much heat or air conditioning, which is also good for the environment. And so what CBRE did was they came up with 3 different hybrid styles. The first one was activity-based. Activity-based is that usually your employees work individually most of the time, but when there does need to be collaboration, then they would go into the office. So if you look at these little charts, there's the first one says it's 40% or 50% me, which means the individual person would be working alone 50% of the time. The 25% we would be collaboration. So based off of your, to the right, the graph would be a company's business model. So the green would be individual spaces to work, so that would be like office cubes. And then the we would be the gray spaces, so that's like little offices that have tables for like meetings whatsoever. And then there'd be 10% support, so that would be like your IT or whatever the individuals would need to help support them at the office. And then 15% is amenities, so that would be like your break rooms, game rooms, whatever your office wants. And then secondly would be a team-based work. So this is when it would be 50% virtual, 50% in person. So this would be an ideal solution if there is some collaborations. And I want to mention that every industry is different. So in commercial real estate, there is a lot of individual work, and usually when you collaborate, that is with like either your clients or you're working with other real estate agents. And then event-based is more like no one really comes into the office, and if you do come into the office, you are working with clients or people of the community. So hybrid, like I said, hybrid's a great solution for your employees who have conflicting feelings about if they want to be in person or virtual. And so ways you can implement this is, one, involve your employees in teams. Ask them what they want. 85% of US employees say they want to work hybrid. Also, communicate new workplace policies. Make sure there's no confusion. Also, invest in the right technology. This could be video, chat, this could be like Teams, Zoom, anything like that. However, we found IT spending has gone up 6.7%. However, a company's real estate footprint is reduced. Lastly, make room for collaboration in the office. This goes from the last slide of the different ways you can implement hybrid in your office. Thank you, and any questions?
Who has a question for Lane and Marisa? Come on, it can't just be up to Laura and I to ask questions, people. We need some active involvement.
Up to like the 3 configurations for different styles of offices, what do you think like the best one would be for commercial real estate?
For commercial real estate, I feel like event-based would be more ideal, because usually the individual work is you working on paperwork and stuff, and that's easy to do at home, and as long as you don't feel like you have distractions. And then the like event-based part of it would be for like your clients to come in or other realtors, and so it would be kind of more of like a commercial place for you guys to meet up.
Nice. One more question? Come on. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask it. Somebody. Given that you are young and part of this generation, what would be your preference going into your first jobs in terms of a hybrid model?
So for myself, I really like the idea of remote work, but I do see the importance of having a hybrid model to account for all the pros and cons of the various models. So I would lean more towards the heavy virtual side. But even as young people moving forward, I think it's important to lean into this, because this is a trend that's coming and all businesses are using this. So I think, yeah, it's worthwhile to put effort into choosing an appropriate hybrid model.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I'm more like, I like the social aspect of work. It makes it a little more fun. But like we said, it could be distracting, so I would prefer the 50-50 in person and virtual, because when you're virtual, then I guess it's kind of more relaxed than if you're in person.
Yeah. So one thing, right, in business communication that we hear all the time is that when young people enter into the workforce, there's a culture gap between some of the older employees, and that it's harder to successfully communicate via technology. Are you familiar with any ways that you would bridge that gap amongst employees of different ages? I know it's a little off topic, but I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, the answer I have right off the top of my head would be, I think like the gap, like you said, is more because we do have the virtual aspect of it. So even, like I said, if you do have that 50-50, going in person, that's kind of how you can create relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you create a relationship, it's easier to like connect with them outside of the office. You feel more, I don't know, comfortable reaching out to them than if you've never met them before and you're all of a sudden gonna reach out to someone. It's a little more uncomfortable.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Nice job.